It feels great. Just to know that my team worked hard to get here and, played as a team. So.
We've got some breaking news now out of Melrose. Police say they've arrested Skyaja Patterson for the murder of Selma McClean.
March 25, 2024, 3:39 in the morning. A 911 operator in the Bronx receives a call that will haunt them forever. "I have just killed my mom." The voice on the other end is calm, too calm. When police arrive at 720 Westchester Avenue, they find a scene of horror. Blood covers the living room floor, a shoe rack is knocked over, and lying unconscious is 46-year-old Selma McClean, her face and head beaten beyond recognition. Standing nearby, still holding a blood-soaked metal cooking pot, is her 26-year-old daughter, Skyaja Patterson. But here's what makes this case so shocking. Just hours earlier, this mother and daughter were at church together, celebrating one of the happiest days of Selma's life. They were inseparable, best friends. Selma had supported her daughter's dreams of becoming a professional basketball player. Skyaja was a college graduate, a former player of the year, a rising star. So how does a relationship built on love and support end with a mother's brutal murder? What happened in those final hours, and could anyone have stopped it? Before we get into this heartbreaking case, if you're a fan of true crime stories that explore the darkest corners of the human mind, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. And drop a comment below. Have you ever heard of a case where someone you least expected committed an unthinkable crime? What do you think really happened here? Let's discuss. To understand this tragedy, you need to know who Selma McClean really was. Most people in her community knew her as Jada. She was 46 years old, a mother of 3 daughters, and the kind of person who would do absolutely anything for her family. Roshana Whitted, a close family friend, said it best. She loved her daughter. There wasn't a thing she wouldn't do for her daughter. Sometimes they have their little quarrels, but that was it. They were inseparable. Her daughter was her whole life. Selma wasn't just a mother. She was the life of the party. Everyone who knew her talked about her cooking. Her curry chicken was legendary. Even on nights when she had to work the next morning, she would stay up late cooking for her family. That's just who she was. Her goddaughter, Danae Reynolds, was 26 years old and saw Selma as a second mother. The family was tight-knit. Selma's own mother was turning 90, and when the two of them got together, they acted like kids. They made everyone around them laugh. Selma also had a special relationship with her father. She would tell her co-workers, "I'm on a date with my daddy." He supported her and her daughters in every way he could. When Skyaja was away at college, he would send her money to help out. At a vigil held after her death, Selma's father spoke through tears. He called his daughter his backbone and said she was super, super special.
Okay, man. No, I feel the backbone.
Because I'm losing 2 people. I'm losing my granddaughter, which I love so much.
Right.
When she was in college, I made sure that every month I send money to her to make sure that she can take care of herself.
But there was something else about Selma that made her final day even more heartbreaking. Sunday, March 24, 2024, was supposed to be one of the best days of her life. That morning, Selma went to church with Skyaja and other family members. During the service, something incredible happened. Selma gave her life to Christ. She was baptized. She was filled with the Holy Spirit. This was something she had dreamed about for years. Her sister later said at the vigil, prior to all this happening, she was at church on Sunday. She gave her life to God and Christ, which is most important, so we know that she's in eternity, she's in a better place. She got baptized, something that she's always imagined and dreamed of.
Prior to all this happening, she was at church on Sunday. She gave her life to God and Christ, which is most important. So we know that she's in eternity. She's in a better place. She got baptized. It's something that she's always imagined and dreamed of.
After church, the family drove to Connecticut to have dinner with Selma's other daughter. It was a beautiful day, a day of faith, family, and celebration. They got back to their apartment in the Bronx around 1 a.m. on March 25th. Even though Selma had to work later that morning, she stayed up until midnight cooking for everyone. That's the kind of mother she was. Her sister remembered. Everybody knows that Jada was a great cook. She stayed up to 12 midnight, although we had to go to work the next day. She stayed up and she cooked. Denia Reynolds had come back with them but left the apartment shortly after they arrived. At that moment, everything seemed fine. Selma had just experienced one of the most important spiritual moments of her life. She was surrounded by the people she loved. She had cooked a meal for her family, just like she always did. But within hours, Selma McClean would be dead. The daughter she loved more than anything in the world would be the one to take her life. So what happened? How did a mother-daughter relationship that everyone described as inseparable end in murder? To answer that, we need to understand the daughter she loved more than life itself. Skyaja Patterson wasn't always the person standing in that blood-soaked apartment holding a metal pot. She was once a rising star with a future that seemed limitless. From a young age, Skyaja showed incredible talent on the basketball court. Her mother, Selma, recognized that talent early and did everything she could to help her daughter chase her dreams of becoming a professional basketball player. And Skyaja didn't disappoint. At Hostos Community College in New York, she dominated. In 2019, she was named the Spalding National Junior College Athletic Association Division III Women's Basketball Player of the Year. That same year, her team won the championship and Skyaja was named MVP of the tournament. During that championship game, she scored 31 points, setting a new conference tournament record and breaking a record that had stood for 10 years. After the game, a reporter asked her about her performance. Skyaja's response showed the kind of person she was. She didn't brag. She didn't take all the credit. Instead, she said, "My teammates, as long as I help them get better, they'll help me get better. I was just basically focusing on 3 of my teammates, and they did the same, and it was just a great night."
It feels great, just to know that my team worked hard to get here and, played as a team, so.
When she received the Player of the Year award, she said something that would later feel heartbreaking. "This award means a lot to me because the journey wasn't easy." With a full athletic scholarship, Skyaja went on to Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. In 2022, she graduated with a bachelor's degree in business. She had plans to get her master's degree. Her future was bright. Throughout all of this, Selma was there, supporting her, cheering her on. Selma's father even sent money to help Skyaja while she was away at college. The family invested in her success. And Skyaja and her mother weren't just mother and daughter. They were best friends, inseparable. Everyone who knew them said the same thing. Then, Skyaja got pregnant. At first, she wasn't ready. The pregnancy was unexpected and she didn't feel prepared to be a mother. But as the months went on, something changed. She started to feel the baby growing inside her. She started to get excited. Skyaja had been raised by a loving, supportive mother. She knew what good parenting looked like, and she began to look forward to welcoming her son into the world. She knew her mother would be there to help her, just like Selma had always been there for everything else. Skyaja was due in September 2023. She was going to have a baby boy. This was supposed to be the next chapter of her life, a new beginning, a chance to build a family of her own, with her mother by her side. But in July 2023, everything changed. And nothing would ever be the same again. In July or August 2023, just 2 months before her due date, Skyaja's baby boy was stillborn. The loss destroyed her. Rashana Whitted, the family friend, explained what happened next. She was due in September 2023, and the baby boy was stillborn. It happened in July or August. she never really dealt with it. Skyaja became inconsolable. The grief was too much. She had gone from being excited about becoming a mother to losing her child before he ever took a breath, and she couldn't process it. That's when the voices started. Skyaja began hearing things that weren't there. She would talk about voices speaking to her. Her behavior changed completely. The bright, humble basketball star who credited her teammates for her success was disappearing. Around the same time, her relationship with the baby's father fell apart. So now she was dealing with the loss of her child and the end of her relationship all at once. Sheena Whitted said it clearly. She never really dealt with it, and her mental health spiraled. But it got worse. Much worse. In February 2024, Skyaja tried to stab her mother to death. Yes, you heard that right. This wasn't the first time Skyaja had tried to kill Selma. According to reports, Selma had contacted law enforcement on 2 previous occasions, saying her daughter had attacked her. After the stabbing attempt in February, Skyaja was admitted to a psychiatric ward. Finally, it seemed like she might get the help she desperately needed. But here's the problem. She was released too soon. Family friends said Skyaja came home without any real improvement. There was no follow-up care, no medication management, no plan to make sure she was actually getting better. She had just tried to murder her mother, and they sent her home. By March 19, 2024, Skyaja was back living with Selma in their apartment at 720 Westchester Avenue in the Bronx. And the voices? They never stopped. Danae Reynolds, Selma's goddaughter, saw what was happening. She talked about how worried she was. She described times when Skyaja would hear voices and even speak in a man's voice. It was terrifying. But what could they do? Skyaja had already been to a psychiatric ward. She had already been released. The system had already failed them once. So Selma did what she always did. She stayed by her daughter's side. She tried to help her. She tried to calm her down when the voices got bad. She prayed. She cooked her favorite foods. She kept family and friends close. She loved her daughter, no matter what. If you're finding this story as heartbreaking as I am, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps share these important stories with more people. And I want to hear from you. Do you think psychiatric facilities release patients too quickly? Have you or someone you know struggled to get proper care? What's it like where you live? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters. Sunday, March 24, 2024, started as a day of hope. That morning, Selma and Skyaja went to church together with other family members. It was a beautiful service, and something incredible happened that day. Selma gave her life to Christ. She was baptized. She was filled with the Holy Spirit. This was something Selma had dreamed about for years. Her sister would later say that Selma got baptized, something that she's always imagined and dreamed of. After church, the family drove to Connecticut to have dinner with Selma's other daughter. They spent the evening together, laughing, talking, enjoying each other's company. It was exactly the kind of day Selma loved, surrounded by her daughters and family. They got back to the Bronx around 1 a.m. on March 25th. Even though Selma had to work later that morning, she did what she always did. She went straight to the kitchen and started cooking. She stayed up until midnight preparing food for her family. Her sister remembered she stayed up to 12 midnight. Although we had to go to work the next day, she stayed up and she cooked. Danae Reynolds, Selma's goddaughter, had come back with them to the apartment, but she left shortly after they arrived. At that moment, everything seemed okay. Selma had just experienced one of the most important days of her life. She was tired but happy. She had her daughter home with her. But then something changed. Shortly after Danae left, Selma's phone lit up. She started texting Danae. The messages were frantic. Selma said that Skyaja was hearing voices again, but this time it was different. This time it was worse. Selma texted, "It was like another person popped out of sky." Skyaja wasn't just hearing voices anymore, she was speaking in a man's voice. Her entire personality had shifted. It was like she had become someone else entirely. Danae would later explain what Selma told her. The demons, the voices in her head, were telling her, "Your mom is out to get you. Your mom is a bad person. Watch out for her." The voice in Skyaja's head was telling her that her mother, the woman who had supported her dreams, who had stayed up cooking for her, who had loved her unconditionally, was her enemy. And then Selma sent the most terrifying message of all. "I fear for my life." Let that sink in. Selma knew she was in danger. She knew something was seriously wrong. She was scared. But she didn't call 911. Why? Maybe she thought she could calm her daughter down like she had done before. Maybe she didn't want to get her daughter in trouble with the police again. Maybe she thought prayer and love would be enough. Selma stayed close to Skyaja. She tried to calm her down. She prayed. She did everything a mother would do to help her child. But Skyaja wasn't in control anymore. The voices were. And those voices were telling her to hurt the one person who loved her most. This is the heartbreaking reality of what happened that night. Selma wasn't dealing with her daughter anymore. She was dealing with someone in the middle of a severe crisis, someone who had lost touch with reality. Danae later said she saw Skyaja display this kind of behavior before, hearing voices, speaking in a man's voice, acting like a completely different person. But this time, there was no one else there, no other family members. Just Selma and Skyaja, alone in that apartment. The family had been trying to manage Skyaja's condition on their own. They had been keeping friends and family close. They had been praying. They had been cooking her favorite foods. They had been doing everything they could think of. But it wasn't enough. Because what Skyaja needed wasn't prayer or home cooking or family support. She needed immediate professional help. She needed doctors. She needed medication. She needed to be in a safe place where she couldn't hurt herself or anyone else. But none of that happened. Instead, Selma was left alone with a daughter who was hearing voices telling her that her mother was the enemy. A daughter who had already tried to stab her just 1 month earlier. A daughter who was holding a metal cooking pot. The same pot Selma had probably used just hours before to cook for her family. At 3:39 a.m., the unthinkable happened. So how did we get here? How does a loving mother end up dead at the hands of her own daughter? The answer's complicated, but it comes down to one thing: a perfect storm of failures. Let's break it down. First, there was unprocessed grief. Skyaja lost her baby boy in July or August 2023. That kind of loss is devastating. But according to family friends, she never really dealt with it. She never got proper grief counseling. She never had the support she needed to work through that trauma. And that grief turned into something much darker. Second, there was inadequate psychiatric care. In February 2024, Skyaja tried to stab her mother. She was admitted to a psychiatric ward. But here's the problem. She was released after just 1 month. 1 month! Despite the fact that she had tried to kill her mother, despite the fact that she was still hearing voices, she came home without any real improvement, without follow-up care, without medication management. Third, there was a history of violence. This wasn't a one-time incident. Selma had called the police on 2 previous occasions because her daughter had attacked her. The warning signs were there. Everyone could see them. Fourth, Skyaja was experiencing command hallucinations. That's when voices tell you to do something. In this case, the voice was telling her that her mother was out to get her, that her mother was a bad person. And eventually that voice told her to kill her mother. Fifth, there was no crisis intervention. When Selma texted Danae saying, "I fear for my life," that should have been the moment someone called 911. But it didn't happen. The family was trying to manage the situation on their own. Now, let's talk about the system failures. Skyaja was released from a psychiatric ward after attempting to murder her mother. Think about that. She tried to stab her mother to death, spent 1 month in care, and then was sent home. No follow-up appointments, no medication checks, no plan to make sure she was actually getting better. There was no mobile crisis team available to help when Selma realized her daughter was in trouble that night. There was no one to call except 911, and the family didn't know that a crisis like this qualified as an emergency. So what could have prevented this? First, we need to recognize the warning signs. Hearing voices, sudden personality changes, speaking in different voices, previous violence. These are all red flags that someone needs immediate help. Second, we need better post-hospitalization care. When someone is released from psychiatric care, especially after a violent incident, there should be mandatory follow-up appointments within days. There should be medication management. There should be home visits to make sure the person is safe. Third, we need crisis intervention teams. Not every emergency requires police with guns. Sometimes what's needed is a trained team that knows how to handle someone in the middle of a breakdown. Fourth, we need grief counseling for people who experience loss. Losing a baby is traumatic. People who go through that need support not just in the immediate aftermath, but for months and years afterward. Here's the bigger picture. This isn't just about Selma and Skyaja. This is about thousands of families dealing with the same problems. People who need help but can't get it. People who are released from care too early. Families who don't know what to do when someone they love is in crisis. This tragedy didn't have to happen. If the system had worked the way it should have, Selma McClean would still be alive, and Skyaja Patterson would be getting the help she desperately needed. Instead, one woman is dead and another will spend years, maybe decades, behind bars. This case shows us that crises like these are medical emergencies that require professional intervention. If this story impacted you, please share it. Awareness can save lives. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share your thoughts. What changes do you think need to happen in how we handle these situations? What state or country are you watching from, and what are resources like where you live? Your comments could help someone who needs it. Now let's remember who we lost. Selma McClean was a woman of faith, love, and devotion. She was a mother who would do anything for her children. She was the life of the party, the one who cooked until midnight even when she had work the next morning. She achieved her spiritual dreams just hours before her death. She was taken far too soon. Skyaja Patterson was a talented young woman with a bright future, a basketball star, a college graduate, a daughter who loved her mother deeply. Her life was derailed by tragedy and illness. Both of them are victims of a system that failed them. At the vigil held for Selma, her family spoke about unity, love, and the importance of getting help. Her sister said something we should all remember. This can happen to anyone at any time. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out. Recognize the warning signs. Don't try to handle it alone. Call for help. May Selma McClean rest in peace. May her family find healing. And may we all learn from this preventable tragedy. Thank you for watching.